up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown!
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Three Guys on Mic. I'm William Joe, my co-host.
Little man.
And today, we are finally getting back to it. We're finally going to give our predictions for the Week 1 NFL. And finally over with all the NBA news, stuff that no one cares about. Lakers forming a super team. We're finally through all the baseball stuff that we never covered because no one cares. But we're finally here with the NFL. My favorite thing in the world. So, let's go ahead and start off. I think the NFL did an amazing job of scheduling the Week 1 matchup, the first game of the season, with the Cowboys and Buccaneers. So go ahead and give your take.
I expect viewership to be broken.
I do too. Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
I think that it's a really good matchup, having the defending champs and the most popular team. So,
yeah, but moving along, I expect it to be a very tough battle between the Cowboys and Bucks. I'm very glad that we got this opponent Week 1 and not the Giants or some sorry team that we already start off with because social media has a frenzy on that. But I think the Bucks are going to look to dominate early, and once again, they're bringing back the exact same squad to run it back. Yeah. And that's honestly what scares me. And I think our offense is going to have to keep us in this game. Because I think our defense is still too young. We really have a lot of young guys on the defense going up against a whole bunch of experience on that Buccaneers offense.
Yeah.
But I will give my team some credit. I think they have a lot of fight this year with everyone coming back. But I still have the Buccaneers in a close one. I think they have too many studs on defense.
Okay, yeah, I kind of agree with that. And I do think that the main matchup in this game is in the trenches. If you look at the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, they were shot last year. A bunch of players were missing from injury. Zach Martin, just about an hour ago, has COVID now, and he's going to miss that game, which is something huge when you think about this Buccaneers defensive line that got after in the Super Bowl, and they're all returning. So I think that's going to be something
Dak is coming back from the ankle.
That's what I was about to say. That's something you don't want to see if your quarterback's coming back from not playing. You have Tyron Smith, who's had injury history in the past, and I expect him, and I hope that he has a full healthy season, and he plays great this Thursday. And you also have Lyle, however you say his name, Collins, who missed all of last year and is finally. Remember, before he got injured last year, he was a really good offensive tackle. So I think that with them coming back, I think it should help them. But this Buccaneers defense is just too good, and I think this Buccaneers team is just too good.
I will say Zach Martin's replacement, Connor McGovern, got a lot of interest in the trade market in this offseason, and I think in the whole preseason he only allowed one pressure. Oh. So it's not like I expect a lot, but I don't think it should be that bad because he did get a lot of playing time last year when Zach Martin got hurt. So I expect him to be fully ready to go.
One thing that kind of worries me about this game for the Cowboys is that Dak is getting his first NFL action since his injury. And again, everyone's saying that he's ready to go. Again, we got the scare about 2 weeks ago saying that he might not be healthy all season. And now they're saying that he's ready to go. I think just this being his first NFL action against that defense, I think it's going to be hard for them. I do think he's going to put up points, but I think it's going to take him a while to get going and get in a rhythm again. And I think this game is going to be pretty close, but I still have the Buccaneers just edging him out. So now let's go on to our second game, which I think is the best game of the weekend. I'm going to go with the Chiefs and the Browns. Go man, start off with what you think about this game.
You know, as I said before, I do have the Browns winning this game. I'll admit it. I think they're out for revenge this year against the Chiefs simply because they crushed their dreams in the divisional last year. And don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are going to be Super Bowl contenders for probably the next five years as long as Pat Mahomes is there.
Yeah.
But this year I feel like the Browns kick off the season with a punch in the mouth. A healthy team, healthy OBJ, improved defense. I expect to win.
Okay. So
in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's one thing that was a big thing for me is that they're coming into Kansas City in a hostile environment, one of the loudest environments in the NFL. I do think that it's going to be interesting to see how the Browns look, especially with this revamped defensive line, this revamped defense. I think it's going to be interesting, and also this offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, who they went out and, as we said and covered in previous videos, that they went out and just totally reinvented that offensive line. And I think if I'm the Browns, it's the same recipe as last year in the playoffs. I think you have to keep Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City offense off the field. You have to utilize your two running backs, which are phenomenal, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I just think that Baker Mayfield, this isn't an insult, but I think he has to game manage, right? And I think he has to not turn the ball over and be effective on third down. Because that's something that you just have to do when you're playing the Chiefs. You have to be effective on third down. You have to keep them off the field. But I think it's going to be... I think for the Chiefs, if Myles Garrett has a quiet game, they're in good hands.
I got to ask you a question. Do you think Baker has potential to be a dark horse for MVP?
No. The reason why I'm saying no is because the way this team is structured, it's a running offense. That's why I say no. I think.
I agree.
I don't know. I think he could be like a really, really, really dark horse. Like something we would be like surprised. I don't think he could win it, but he could be in the conversation at some point in his career. So yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Airhead's gonna be rocking. Little Man's gonna go with the Browns because he hates the Chiefs. So
No, it's not even that. It's just I really like the Browns, and I think they're coming into this year with a different attitude.
Okay. All right. Well, in that we're gonna transition to the Seahawks and the Colts. Seahawks and the Colts, I think, is one of the more underrated matchups. Something that no one's really talking about.
Very true.
And with the Colts, they're probably one of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL. They have a really good defense, a really good offensive line, 3 good running backs. They have a great play caller in Frank Reich, and they have Carson Wentz, who at any time could play like he's a backup, and any time could play like he's a superstar. But with all that being said, none of that is really coming to life right now. Nothing is really meshed together right now. You have T.Y. Hilton, who's out for about a month. You have Quentin Nelson and Carson Wentz, who had foot surgery, and they're battling injuries. So I think there's too many questions right now to say that the Colts are a top team right now. And I think when you play the Seahawks in Week 1, as we know, Russ gets off to a phenomenal and hot start in the beginning of the season. He's always that's what he's known for. So I'm just gonna go with the Seahawks because I think that DK is a year older. He's gonna be more mature. I think it's just another year to get better with Russell Wilson. Tyler Lockett could out of nowhere just take over a game, and I just trust in Russ. So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
All right, I like that pick. I do like that you mentioned the injuries because right here I have the Seahawks offense has a very good start against a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Even though their O-line is shattered, I still don't think that they can protect Russ, and he's gonna go through some hell this season. But with the Colts, if they have Wentz Week 1, which I don't think they do, it's looking less and less likely. I thought if they had Wentz in Week 1, I thought they were gonna win the game. But now since that's in question, I think the Hawks take it in a close game.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's transition over to the Saints and the Packers.
On my eyes, I think that's a very underrated game.
I do too.
A lot of these games in Week 1 are very underrated, but I just think they're being overshot by a lot of the big name teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that's what's gonna happen now that Drew Brees is gone. The being intrigued by the Saints, it's kind of not there anymore. Even me, like when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, Packers Saints, but then you really like look into it. And you're
cool.
Like, yeah, you really look into it and like there's actually a really good matchup, but just no Drew Brees. It's gonna be kind of weird to see a Saints team without Drew Brees.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. A few weeks ago, Jameis Winston was named the starter, as everyone expected, as he should be.
Yeah.
I don't think Taysom Hill was even in that discussion. He shouldn't be in that discussion to start for this team. I do like Taysom Hill, but I just think it's disrespectful to Jameis Winston to even have that competition with him. And I'm very excited to see how he does as a starter again. As we know, 2 years ago, he threw for a bunch of yards, had a bunch of touchdowns, but also a bunch of turnovers. So I do think that it's going to be interesting, and I'm rooting for Jameis Winston to be phenomenal this season and this game.
He got the eye surgery too.
Yeah, let's not forget that. So, yeah, but with the Packers, I mean, they're the Packers. They're a top 4 team in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers' revenge tour. Who's he going to revenge on? I do not know, but it just sounds cool, and I love Aaron Rodgers with the passion. With that passion that he has and the fire that he has, I think it's going to be a really interesting season, and I can't wait for him to kick it off against this defense. So
very spot on.
Yeah,
the Saints have potential to be a great offense once again. I mean, that defense is always going to be good. Everybody's coming back this year. But I think them with Jameis is heavily underrated. Because now they have a very good deep ball. They can go to anybody on that field.
That's something that they missed with Drew Brees.
And the breakout candidate, I can't remember his name. But I think he wears number 17 for the Saints. He had a very good preseason. And it's pissing me off that I can't remember his name. I think he's going to be a real good threat this year alongside with Michael Thomas whenever he comes back and Alvin Kamara. But yeah, A-Rod's last dance. He's gonna put the league on notice, and I really expect him to go off in Week 1.
I just realized I didn't even give a pick for this game. Well, okay. Listen, a few points.
I didn't either.
A few points is that Trey Hendrickson, he's not there anymore. He was responsible for a lot of edge pressure and a lot of just causing a lot of chaos with the other offensive lines. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how the Saints, kind of match his production now that he's missing.
Yeah, they lose him, but I think a plus for them also is getting back Marcus Davenport.
That's true.
Who's 6'7" and probably the longest person I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, and as well, Randall Cobb is getting his first NFL action
my
as
God.
a Packer again. It's great to see him there again.
It's gonna be nostalgic.
But I think it's gonna be really hard for the Packers to win this game, even though I do think that they're going to win this game. Just being in the Superdome.
Hard fought. It's going to be a hard fought win.
Yeah, being in the Superdome with the fans back, because I think that's a big point for the season is that the fans are back, and the teams that rely on their stadiums, rely on their home field advantage, it's going to play.
New Orleans for sure.
Yeah, but I still have the package, but I think it's going to be really hard for them. So transitioning, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the San Francisco 49ers versus the Detroit Lions. Now, the 49ers look to bounce back after a down year last year, a bunch of injuries, something that was really unfortunate for this team because I really do think they would have been a great team. And I think when you name Jimmy G the starter, I think it's going to be a positive for this team, but it's going to be a lot of questions later on in the season to see how he performs. But I do think this is a good game to see how he plays out, if he can still be that guy. I think Kyle Shanahan's run game is going to be the determining factor for the 49ers win, because obviously I'm going with the 49ers because I don't like the Lions at all. And I think Jared Goff for the Lions, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have some good games this season, and I think he can have a good game. I do not think he's going to have a good game this game because he's going to be playing against the 49ers defense, which is phenomenal, they're going to get after it. I just don't see the appeal for the Lions this season. I don't see the appeal for this game. I just think the Niners are going to blow them out.
Yeah, I see the 49ers starting off with a huge win in Detroit. And I know it's the Lions, but I think it's going to be a lot for them to build momentum off of. I mean, hell, maybe we even see Trey Lance week 1 if it's a blowout. But yeah, for the Lions, I really don't see anything going for them besides Penei Sewell. I mean, that's the best thing they have, him and DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
But like I said, the Lions are just a work in progress for now with Dan Campbell. So I think the Niners are going to blow out.
Okay, so we're both in agreement right there. Another game that is game of the weekend, Jaguars and Texans.
And I think this game has potential.
Potential to be what? To have a touchdown?
Like a toilet bowl, but like a good game. A decent game.
I mean, yeah, I think the Jags and Texans are always like a close game, but because
no one really cares.
Yeah. But I do think the most intriguing part about this game is Trevor Lawrence in his first NFL action. I think he's gonna, play great. I don't think the Texans are that great of a team, and it's gonna be interesting to see him go on the road in a hostile environment against a division opponent. And I do think the Jaguars are gonna start off with a win this game. And again, I did pick the Texans to finish third over the Jaguars, but I think head-to-head, I think the Jaguars are just a much better team. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars, and the Texans still have Deshaun Watson. I do think he's going to play the whole season this year. Hopefully, yeah, but it's just that there's not enough to compete, and I think Trevor Lawrence is just going to be phenomenal this game. I think he's going to put up some really good numbers for his first NFL start, and yeah, I'm going with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I expect a very good duel between Trevor and Deshaun. But I have to give the Texans this one because I think that they have more playmakers to win them games, more veterans to win them games than the Jaguars do.
Okay.
And Deshaun Watson also has a 6-1 record against the Jaguars, so it's very rare that he loses. Okay. So I think he improves to 7-1 week 1.
So you're still going with the Jags over them though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Kind of like how you said.
Yeah, like head to head, but that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Vikings and the Bengals. I think this game could be a really good game. I think it could be really high scoring. The Vikings are really talented on paper. Their offense is really good, as you know, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook. I think they can put up a lot of numbers. With this Bengals squad, you have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, who's coming off of an ACL injury, and then Jamar Chase. Well, let me just say this. A bunch of people just overreact when it comes to young players, when it comes to rookies in their preseason. I'm not going to defend him and say that he played great. He obviously played horrible in the preseason, but it's just that you're really going to bail on this kid after a few preseason games. He hasn't even had his first NFL game yet.
Man, I think it's more than that. I think it's all the issues
off-the-field
issues that he's having. I think it's more than
that. Okay,
I
think that's something that you could take away, but a lot of people are just going off of his drops. They're not talking about anything else off the field. So yeah, I think it's unfair to him. And I do think that this Bengals team is going to be really good. Not really good. They're going to be really entertaining to watch. But this offensive line is just not good at all. And I do think that the Vikings are going to start off 1-0 this season because they have the veteran team, they have the better defense, they have the veteran quarterback. And yeah, I just think they're better coach as well. So I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, Joey B's first game back, and he plays a subpar defense. I have him and Joe Mixon having a huge day. And I think the Vikings, the only way they stay in this game is with their offense, who could be top 10 easy. I think they have all the weapons to do that. But I think it just comes down with the Bengals. I feel like Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow are just... I feel like they're really gonna take off as that duo this year. And I feel like Burrow can get Jamar Chase going easy week 1.
That's
so
true.
I don't think that should be
the reason why I think that this Bengals offense could be great is because the Vikings secondary isn't phenomenal by any means.
Exactly.
I think that scheme-wise, the Vikings are a really good defense. I think, as a Mike Zimmer-led defense, you're going to be good. I think you're going to have a solid front 4 or front 7. But yeah, just the secondary, it's a bad matchup for them. But yeah, I'm still going with the Vikings, but I think that Jamar Chase is going to have a really big game.
That front 7 is the only thing they have going.
That's true.
Like, they get Anthony Barr back and Eric Hendricks.
You released Daniel Hunter.
You released the...
Yeah.
Like, just why?
So yeah, but either way, I'm still going with the Vikings. I'm going to go ahead and transition into one of the games that I'm looking forward to the most, Chargers and the Washington football team. I think both teams are really talented and really have good structure to them. I think the Chargers' offensive line versus the Washington football team defensive line will define the game, and I think a big matchup is Rashawn Slater versus Chase Young. Now again, they did match up in college 2 years ago, but that was in college. Chase Young is, I think it's kind of fair to say that he's miles ahead of Rashawn Slater right now because Chase Young already had a year of experience and looked great. So I think Rashawn Slater is he's gonna struggle. I think against anyone he matches up with just a little bit, but I do think it's really intriguing to see how it plays out. And again, the Chargers are my dark horse team to be one of the best teams in the NFL this year. I think Justin Herbert is gonna have a breakout season again. I guess you can call last year as a breakout season, but I do think that just Justin Herbert being that guy, being that superstar, I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball at the end, and I trust in Justin Herbert to win the game for them.
Yeah,
so I'm going with the Chargers.
I think it's another game that's going to be a battle through the trenches because I think if they can hold the Washington football team to at least 2 sacks, Chargers win the game easy. Mm-hmm. But I think the Washington has a lot going for them on offense too.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel,
Antonio
line. Gibson, the offensive line, Ryan Fitzmagic. But I like my odds with the Bolts. I think their offense is too overpowered. And their defense is actually really good too. I won't sleep on their defense.
Yeah. That's something that I pointed out in my division predictions is that a big key for the Chargers team is obviously to win close games. They've struggled winning close games in the past few years. And I think this is going to be a really close game, and it's going to be a test to see if they can close out games.
I really hope they don't.
They don't mess it up again?
They don't mess it up.
Yeah. So I guess we're both in agreement for the Chargers, right?
Chargers, yeah. Chargers start off 1-0.
Okay.
Moving forward to what I think will be a very underrated matchup in Week 1 is the Jets versus the Panthers. As we all know, Sam Darnold was dealt in the offseason by the Jets, who I think gave up on him, and they took Sam Wilson. But I think in this game... Zach Wilson, damn, not the Falcon. Sam Darnold will not absolutely, that's overreaction, but I think he will have a very good game against his old team. He knows this offense, and now he gets an offense where they actually have potential. They actually look good when you watch them play. And I think it'll be a good start to see where Zach Wilson is at and where this whole Jets team is all around. But I think the Panthers are just too overpowered for this team. I think they have too much talent for them to handle on defense.
That's true. I'm going to agree with you. I think it is interesting to see Sam Darnold play against his old team. And I think that you finally get to see Sam with an offense that actually has potential and actually has good skill set. As you know, on the Jets, they weren't really known for putting weapons around Sam Darnold. And I think a lot of people just bailed on him because he wasn't putting up the numbers. But if you watch the games, he can extend the play. He can make some really good plays. He can also make some really bad plays. But I think just having him in a different environment, same thing with Carson Wentz. Same thing how people are saying him in a different environment, getting his head cleared, just getting out of that situation. I think he could work the same way for Sam Darnold. And I think that he could still have a really good season. Again, when you have Christian McCaffrey as your running back, you could do anything. You could check it down to him, throw screens, give him 20 carries a game. So, the possibilities are endless when you're Sam Darnold. I think he is going to have a really good season. And again, for the Jets, I don't see the appeal to this team. I know Little Man's really high on this team. I'm really not. And again, I think one of the biggest matchups for this game is Corey Davis versus J.C. Horn. Corey Davis is looking to have a bounce-back year. He didn't have a bad year by any means, but he's looking to be that number one guy again. How people are just riding on him, and I think that he can be that number one guy for the Jets. And it's going to be interesting to see how J.C. Horn matches up against his first actual really good opponent,
Yeah, I think he has 3 very good opponents to look forward to.
J.C. Horn?
Yeah.
Who else?
There's Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder. Moving on to a very anticipated matchup is the Bills and the Steelers. Josh Allen's MVP campaign kicks off against a very good defense. Him and Stephon Diggs, I think, will actually have a field day on this defense, and I think they give him the business as they did last year in the regular season. I think the Steelers' season starts off with disappointment, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they move in the rest of the season, how they move forward. I think it's going to be interesting because I still think that they might finish as the last team in their division.
Yeah, see, I'm not gonna go ahead and agree with that, as you know, we got into that argument about that. But I do think that Josh Allen, as you said, his MVP campaign starts with this game. I think he's gonna play great. As you saw in the preseason game, he only had a few plays, but he still looked really good. And just like always, he's the best player on the field. In most teams that he matches up against, he's gonna be the best player on that field. And I think that when you look at the Steelers, again, I'm not really big on the Steelers, but I don't think they're gonna be worse than the Bengals at all. But you look at the Steelers, last year just left a bad taste in their mouth. It was horrible to see how that season ended, starting off 11-0, and then you go ahead, you lose, you drop a game to the Washington football team. Record-wise wasn't good. Then again, I think that was one of the biggest losses of the year for them, was going into Buffalo.
That for sure was the turning point right there.
Yeah, I think that game, losing to Buffalo, was a really big turning point that season, and then you get blown out by the Browns. Ooh. So yeah, I think they just I'm still not convinced on this team at all. I think the most important thing for the Steelers, though, if they want to be competitive and if they want to win this game, I think your defensive line has to perform how they did last year. As you know, the Steelers' defensive line was number 1 in sacks last year. You lost Bud Dupree, which is a big loss for them, but I still think that they can still keep up that production, and I think you have to get after Josh Allen.
I think the most important piece for them this year, in my opinion, on defense, is Devin Bush.
Yeah, I know last year missed a lot of games, right?
To a torn ACL, yeah. I think it was. So I think he's going to be the pinpoint of this defense for sure.
Yeah, so I still think that the Steelers could make it competitive, but when you look at the matchups on offense, I still think that no one could cover Stephon Diggs. Only thing that is like kind of worrying me is the Bills' running game. Again, we haven't seen them have a solid run game since last year, and I think Josh Allen, he's a good runner, but you don't want your quarterback as your number 1 running back. So
you can call me crazy, but I think Matt Breida changes that.
Okay.
I think he has a lot more speed than Zach Moss and Devin Singletary.
And I'm not saying they're going to be horrible again last year. I'm just saying that I need to see that change. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills. I think me and Lil Man are both in agreement, right? Okay.
Bills week 1.
Going ahead with the next game, the game that I'm looking forward to the most, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is the first game removed from the Doug Peterson era for the Philadelphia Eagles. As you know, me personally, I want to leave that all in the past. A lot of people are still comparing Carson Wentz and stuff. I say you just leave it in the past. You have a new coaching staff, a new quarterback, and for the Falcons, you have head coach Arthur Smith, who was a really good offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how he starts off this season and rebuilds this team. As you know, no more Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1 guy for this team. One of the matchups that I really look forward to is Darius Slay versus Calvin Ridley. Now again, Darius Slay played really well against some of the top receivers. But when it comes to the top, like Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, he struggled a lot. So I do think that he could still, Calvin Ridley is no slouch at all by any means, but I still think he could put up stop him from putting up really good numbers. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I think this Falcons offense could give Philly the secondary much problems. The secondary, even though on paper they've been improved, I still don't see anyone stopping Calvin Ridley to the point of where we shut him down. Even Kyle Pitts, I still think that he's a really good talent. A lot of people are saying that he's overrated right now. I still think he's going to be really good. And watching this matchup, I really wish that we still had Malcolm Jenkins. Because seeing Malcolm Jenkins cover Kyle Pitts, I think that would have been something interesting to watch.
We have Anthony Harris now, and I feel like he can fill that role.
I know, but just Malcolm Jenkins just was that guy to take up that big spot, you know? And, but for me, the main points for the Philadelphia Eagles is this defensive line needs to eat. This defensive line, to me, I think they're a top 5 defensive line. Falcons lost Alex Mack, which is gonna.
He retired, no?
I think he went to the Niners. I think so. So, I think that's a really big loss for the Falcons. You have Fletcher Cox, who's one of the best interior defensive linemen, and you really don't have your Pro Bowl center to plug up that hole, you know. And I think so. Yeah, this defensive line is gonna have to eat. I think you got to get the playmakers the ball for your Deshaun Watson. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna
He's not there.
Yeah. if you're Jalen Hurts, I think you're going to have to get the ball to your playmakers. You have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, who are security blankets for you. You also have Devontae Smith, who you bring in as one of the top route runners in the draft class. So I think you're just going to have to give them the ball. Again, you even made an emphasis on getting the running backs the ball out of the backfield this camp. So I think that's going to be something. But the biggest thing for the Eagles to secure this win is you have to utilize your team strength. Your quarterback strength is his legs, and I think your team strength is the running game. Miles Sanders, I think he's a great back. I think this offensive line is still one of the top offensive lines when healthy. And Jalen Hurts using his legs, he's built for it. You see the off-season workouts. You see how prepared he's getting his body for it. Even last year in the few games that you saw, he was running the ball effectively. So I think that that's something you have to utilize to get the win.
I very much agree on your Philadelphia Eagles versus the Atlanta Falcons take. I think Jalen Hurts puts on a show, and I think with the lead being as big as it's going to get, I feel like they can get Devontae Smith some touches. A lot of touches, I think. I think they can go at this Falcons secondary repeatedly. Because, I mean, do you know anybody who starts on the Falcons secondary? Be honest.
No.
One name.
No, I could look it up.
But yeah, I have no hope for the Falcons this year. It's just a rebuild year. I really do hope Kyle Pitts does good, though. Him and Calvin really are the future of the team. And like I said, I think this is Matty Ice's his farewell tour.
For the Falcons or for his career?
Last first game of the season.
Wait, but do you think he's retiring or he's just gonna leave?
I think he'll hang him up, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Something with me as an Eagles fan, if you guys are Eagles fans out there, going to Atlanta is not something that you want to see. In the past, like 4 times the Eagles have gone to Atlanta, they've lost every game. It's been a weird. As you look at it 2 years ago, that game when everyone got hurt on offense, even like previous years.
Sean Jackson, I think, got hurt the first snap.
He got hurt pregame or something like that. So, yeah, I still don't have a good feeling about this game, but I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I'm gonna rock with my team.
Moving on to a matchup where both teams made pretty huge moves this offseason, the Cardinals and Titans. I'm gonna go ahead and say the Cardinals defense is much improved. And I was thinking this shouldn't be as much of big of a shootout as it should be. But then it came to my mind that the Titans now have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. So I do expect a shootout, but I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to the Tennessee Titans.
And why is that?
Because I think they have too many playmakers, and I still think that the Arizona Cardinals secondary still needs some help. I mean, their best corner is Malcolm Butler.
That's true. Who's contemplating retirement.
Exactly,
yeah.
Who's contemplating retirement.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. And I do think that this is probably the most underrated matchup of Week 1.
Possibly.
Because I don't really think a lot of people are high on the Cardinals, but I do think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited to see how this Tennessee Titans offense looks with Derrick Henry, Julio Jones. So I think it's going to be exciting. But again, on paper, things play out differently, right? You could look at a team and say, how are they going to stop them? Then you get to the action, and they look just completely different.
The opposite.
Yeah, but on paper, I'm really questioning how is a team going to stop a team with Julio Jones, and then you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. But I think the Cardinals are still a really good team. I think both defenses may struggle to stop each other, or to stop the offenses. I think Kyler Murray, again, is going to have a phenomenal season. I think he's going to start off really strong. I'm not high on the Tennessee Titans defense at all by any means. I think it's going to be interesting to see how J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones pair together and really see what they can do against Derrick Henry and that offensive line. But yeah, I'm still going to go with the Tennessee Titans because I think they're the better team. They're the more better structured team. But yeah, I just think it's going to be a really competitive game. And I think it could go either way. But I'm still going with the Titans.
Yeah, I think both of the defenses are going to have to game plan really well. And they're probably going to be up all night trying to game plan for this game.
That's true. All right, we're going to go ahead and go with the Broncos and the Giants. This is a really good matchup for both teams when you look at the offenses and the defenses. I think the Giants offense really has high hopes. Again, with Daniel Jones, you get him a bunch of weapons. You have Saquon who's coming back. And against this Broncos team who has a really solid defense, I think this defense is really aggressive. And I think that could be a problem for the Giants. The reason why is because you have Saquon coming back. He's hopeful to play Week 1. You have him coming back. We haven't really improved your offensive line. Again, I think it could be another scenario like Week 1 last year against the Steelers and the Giants, when the Steelers just completely obliterated Saquon and that offensive line. And I think it could happen again. So I think that's a really big question, but Daniel Jones has to be the key for the Giants to win this game. You got him a bunch of weapons. Again, there's been times where this Giants team looked like they could take that next step, but Daniel Jones has just been too inconsistent. Look at last year on Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was a winnable game for the Giants, but Daniel Jones just looked really off that game. And I do think that that's something you have to fix this season for the Giants to take that next step. But I'm going to go with the Broncos simply because I think that you have Teddy Bridgewater who could game manage, who could not turn the ball over, and he could just convert on third down. Be a really good quarterback, a really solid quarterback for this team. And I trust in the Broncos more than I do the Giants. So I'm going with the Broncos.
Yeah, with the Broncos, I think with Teddy, they're determined to win this game. I think he's the leader of this team. The quarterback, I think they make the right decision in the end. But so far as the Giants, I really like how you said last year how the Steelers obliterated that O-line and got to Saquon early. And with Daniel Jones, I don't think he's going to do well against his defense.
Yeah.
All around the secondary, they're good. The D-line is very good. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb coming off the edges. I think it might be hell for the Giants to score in this game, and that's why I gave the Broncos the edge.
You think it's going to be a blowout?
I don't think it'll be a blowout.
Okay.
I think maybe
Like a 2-touchdown margin?
2-touchdown margin.
Okay, I agree with that.
Somewhere around there.
Now, we're going to go ahead with another big game, and I think this game is probably the most important of the weekend. I think it's the Patriots and the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at this matchup, both teams are still going to be really competitive. I think both teams are going to look back at this game, and whoever loses this game, they're going to be kicking themselves because they lost this game so early on in the season. Now, the big news with the Patriots, as we know, they released Cam Newton, which to me was a big surprise. I didn't expect them I didn't expect them to release him like this. I didn't expect them to not really give him a fair shot this season. Again, he played last year, but I was still expecting him to play a few games this year. And the way it happened with him on the COVID list, and then they just released him. But again, you have Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a really good quarterback, and I think if there's anyone who can make Mac Jones work, it is the Patriots. Now again, looking at the Dolphins, you have Tua. A lot of people, there's just question marks all around Tua. People aren't really sure on what he's capable of. I'm not too sure myself. But again, as Little Man said in the previous videos, that Tua really has that monkey off his back, and that Fitzpatrick can't save him, but he also can't come in and take his spot. So yeah, I do think that this could play into Tua's favor, but I just trust in Mac Jones. I trust in Mac Jones to make the least amount of mistakes and to make the bigger plays into it. So I'm going with the Patriots in this game. Although I do think the Dolphins are going to finish above them still. I just think the matchup right now, week 1, I think Bill Belichick's going to have this team ready. And yeah, I'm going with the Patriots.
That's a very good take. I like that.
Thanks.
It's a great division matchup, and I think this is a very good team for Mac Jones to go against in week 1. There's improved offense, a whole bunch of new weapons.
Yeah.
But to me, I just can't see the Miami Dolphins defense as good as they were and as good as they can be this year. I can't see them losing to Mac Jones and a rookie in week 1. And I think with Tua and all the new weapons he has now, I think it's his time to show out and show his strong arm, go deep ball to Will Fuller or Jalen Waddle. And I have the Dolphins winning this one.
Okay. I mean, by any means, I think this is going to be a sloppy game.
Yeah, it does have potential to be sloppy. It could be like, that Georgia-Clemson game, 10-3, where the only touchdown was a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, I think it could be a really sloppy game. But either way, I'm still going with the Patriots. But Dolphins could take it as well.
On to the Sunday Night Football matchup. The Chicago Bears versus the Los Angeles Rams. Now with the Bears, I'm still really upset, and I don't know why it's bugging me, the fact that they traded Anthony Miller. Because I thought he was a very good wide receiver, a good weapon for them. But I think Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney are the answer for this team on offense. But for this game, I think they have to win with their defense, hands down.
Yeah.
They have to pray to God that their defense gets stops, because last year in that game, their offense did nothing, absolutely nothing. The defense did somewhat their job, but I mean, the defense can only stay on the field for so long and help you win. But when the offense is doing literally nothing, it's very hard to come out with a win, especially in LA.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Stafford shines in his debut, if I'm being honest. I think he has a good game against a very good defense, and he's going to show why the Rams should have traded for him. I mean, this was rumored like a while back, the Rams going after Stafford. I remember seeing it a while ago. And I'm very glad that he landed in LA, and I think he has potential from week 1 to start off on his Super Bowl campaign.
Okay. I'm going to have to agree with Little Man, and the Rams are the clear favorites for clear reason. And when you look at this team in the past 4 years, the Rams are 4-0 in week 1 under Sean McVay. So he has his team ready to go to start the season. They start off on a good note. And look at the Rams defense. They're just going to give huge problems for the Bears offensive line. The Bears offensive line has been a problem last year. It was a problem in that Monday Night Football game last year. And I think that that's something that they haven't fixed at all. And I think that's another big reason why Justin Fields is not starting this game. A lot of people still want to see him out there And trust me, I want to see Justin Fields out there. But I think it's a smarter move to save and to save your young talent for a team that's better suitable that you can compete against. Because when you look at the Bears' offensive line, they can't hang with number 99 Aaron Donald in the middle of that defense. I think it's gonna be hard. Andy Dalton's gonna get beat up, and that's not something that you want to see from your number one pick. So yeah, I'm still gonna go with the Rams. And again, with Matt Stafford, you said he's gonna start off hot. I actually disagree. I think in the first half he's gonna struggle a little bit, just because I think it's a new offense. I think I'm not gonna say he's gonna struggle and score 0 points, but it's not gonna be fireworks. But I think it's going to pick up in the second half, and I think that's where the Rams are going to pull away. So I'm going with the Rams in a big win here. I think it's going to be close in the first half, but they're going to pull away.
Now for the last game of Week 1, the Monday Night Football game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Las Vegas Raiders, which I think is another very underrated game and a lot of people are looking over. The loss of J.K. Dobbins is really devastating, but I think with Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson, that's easily 1,000 yards combined. Maybe even 1,500 yards combined. Ravens defense is always a nightmare, and I think that's exactly what's going to win them this game. Because the Raiders offensive line, as we all know, they literally only have 2 returners, Richie Incognito and the left tackle, who I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he did get an extension, right?
He did, right?
Yeah, the Raiders do have a good team all around. It's just the kryptonite of this team is the offensive line. I like everything else. It's just the O-line. I don't know how long they can protect Carr. He might be running for his life all game, potentially all season. But I think the Ravens have the defensive front to win this game.
I'm going to agree with Little Man, and I'm going to go with the Ravens in this game. If you look at it, the Ravens are kind of a hard-nosed football team. They're really well coached. They're a power football team. And if you look at the Raiders, they're a team that they're decent at a lot of things. Their running game started off strong last year, but it tailed off. But they're not really phenomenal at any one thing. I like Derek Carr, but I don't think he's a top quarterback in the NFL. I don't think this passing attack is scaring the Ravens defense by any means. When you have 2 cornerbacks who could shut down, you can shut down pretty much any receivers in the NFL.
Sorry, that just sounded way like rude when it came
Yeah,
out your mouth.
it's the Raiders. I hate the Raiders. And I do think that the loss of J.K. Dobbins, I think that it sucks for them. You always want to see a young running back, succeed in this league, and it sucks for them. But I do think that Gus Edwards could step in and fill that role. And I think one thing for the Raiders, a player that could really benefit off this matchup is Jonathan Abrams. You don't really have to worry about a passing attack for the Ravens.
He's your favorite player.
Yeah, he's my favorite player. You don't really have to, worry about a passing attack. He could just be in his natural element and just be aggressive. And I think that he could really shine in this game because it's going to play to his strengths. But I'm still going with the Ravens, and I still think that they're one of the best teams in the NFL, regardless of the injuries. And again, Rashad Bateman is also missing the first 3-4 weeks of the NFL season. So I think that's going to suck for the Ravens. But I'm still going with them. I still think they're a really good team. And I think that's done, right? Right.
Covers all week.
Bunch of games. Really long video.
It's insane.
But yeah, thank you guys for sticking through with us. Thank you guys for supporting us and liking our videos. Make sure you guys share our videos. We're getting better at this every single week that we record. It's a process, it's a grind. I know some of you guys get frustrated by the mistakes that we make and stuff like that. But thank you guys for sticking with us.
And the polls will be up for
the polls are going to start back up again. And yeah, just thank you guys for sticking with us. Damn, isn't Carlson like the military or something?